Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairul mursalin. Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, yaqulu Allahu ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem. Inna Allaha wa malaikatuhu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. It is not righteousness that you turn your faces toward the east or west, but it is righteousness to believe in Allah and the last day and the angels and the book and the messengers, to spend of your substance out of love for Him, for your kin, for orphans, for the needy, for the wayfarer, and for those who ask, and for the ransom of slaves, to be steadfast in prayer and practice regular charity, to fulfill the contracts which you have made, and to be firm and patient in pain or suffering and adversity and throughout all periods of panic. Such are the people of truth, the God-fearing. Of course, this is one of our favorite passages in Quran, and it talks about what real faith is, or piety, bir. So it's not righteousness to turn your face to the east or the west, or righteousness is not encapsulated in mainly rituals, but the essence of the ritual, the meaning of the ritual, the contact with the personality and the ultimate reality, who is Allah. That is what righteousness is. Those who believe in Allah in the last day, those who believe in Allah, they believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and that Allah is Al-Hasib, that He is the accountant, and we will be held accountable for us. It only makes sense if a creator made us, and He made the whole universe, and He gave us life, and He gave us the risk that we see, all the things that we need for life, and then it would only be reasonable that that creator, that reality, would hold us responsible for how we used all of those things that was given to us. Okay, and then that you give to different people. It outlines the wayfarer, Ibn Sabil, the Fi'ari Cab, people who are held in bondage. So the charity is for a certain reason, for the beggars, for the slaves, and that you perform the regular salat at its proper time, every day, all the time. And that you give zakah. That zakah means to increase, and that it grows. Zakah, when it refers to a plant, it grew and expanded. When you give money away, it don't shrink that wealth, it increases that wealth. A lot of people think, well, if I give something out, then I'm going to have less money. And that's not the way it works. The more you give, some kind of way it comes back to you. Some ways you can recognize and some that you can't. To fulfill your covenants, any covenant that you make, you fulfill it. And what we're concentrating on today is sabr, and to be patient That means persevering, steadfastness, and to have this spirit of endurance, to check, to tie, contain, and to have a tenacity to hold on with all possible strength, and to be forbearing, and to have perseverance, and to check, and to tie, and to contain yourself. Basa is adversity, distress, difficulty. So to be patient in adversity and affliction. When all this dara is going around, affliction, suffering, and illness, and distress, right in the thick of fighting, by us you are tranquil. You're not involved in panic and running here and there and losing your focus. That means you become more focused during these periods. And then it goes on to say, and those who speak the truth. And those people are the muttaqin, the God-fearing. So this is a characteristic that we have tried to maintain. The more we read it, the more we want to maintain it. For us, Islam has been a wonderful experience. It's been an experience of continuous growth and evolution and expansion. And there are certain things that we want to do right now. We talked about charter towns the other day. Charter towns. You might wonder why y'all Negroes are talking about all that stuff. Well, we've had certain experiences which we'll get to later. And no matter what other people feel about their life, we have enough time to sit and think about who we are, what we are, how are we interacting with our environment, how's our environment acting with us, you know what I mean? In other words, other people may just jump up and go to work and run around in circles, but we actually think about what's going on. And people who are familiar with our community knows that we've been involved in growth, development, and forecasting for decades. And we won't go into the correctness of it, but this has been a continuous learning experience. That's what it's been. I remember when I went down to Imam Jamil's community, they came out for a program we had in Oakland. In fact, at that time, it was the biggest program they had dealing with the Sunnah. In 1982, it was early up in, it was February, Black History Month, that's right. It was Black History Month, 1982. The poets came out, Imam Jamil came out, and we were introducing East Coast style Islam, the Sunnah, to the West Coast. At that time, it was only 2 Negro masajid that was what we would call at that time on the Sunnah. In fact, the chief came to our program. He was packed. The old Oakland auditorium was full. People would look upstairs and they would see Iranian Muslims and white Muslims. They couldn't tell the difference between white folks. And they saw all, students from Berkeley with hijab on. It was really a wonderful program. And, the Negro was looking, man, they got white Muslims. That's a big deal. We had a good program. When I went down to Atlanta not long after that, I got my first look at what we had been talking about all the time. Community, Jama'ah. And when I went to Atlanta, I looked at the store on the corner. Now remember, this is elementary stuff at that time. Just the fundamentals. 100% Negroid. Imam Jamil had a store on the corner. Right next to him, the brothers had Al-Asr. You know what I mean, Al-Asr, they did incense and oils and all of that. Was it Asr or Fajr? Might have been Fajr. Yeah, the place was called, right next to the door to Imam Jamil. Okay, that's right. And so, there's a basketball court across the street. Technically, there's a little park there. The masjid was right there. And everybody was living, it was within walking distance of the masjid. And it snapped. That was our utopia. It's 1983. You know, all you have to do, when you're figuring out how you're going to structure everything, our masjid was a couple of years old at that. We had been active for a couple of years. Yeah. That picture, I said, that's it. So that settled in. Masjid, school, business, geographical integrity, living close together. I mean, I didn't tell them. Now, something about that community, I said, man, this is it. Everybody's saying, As-Salamu Alaykum, something Imam Jamil told me. He said, they ain't with me. I said, oh. But there was the community. So from then on, I had a picture, a clear picture, how this is going to work. Now remember, this is full-fledged Negroid for the early 80s. We didn't have the black movement going into the 70s. That's dead, and now we're transferred into Islam. And a wholesome, healthy community, almost self-contained. So therefore, I went around with Imam Jamil when he bought supplies for his store. You know, I rode around with him and got to know him pretty well. So we had a picture now. So if you look around here, if you look in Oakland, all of those things, first the masjid, that's the first thing, the masjid around the corner. But even the property around the corner, we was setting up for there. But the property next door, which we combined with the masjid property, the lot down the street that they trying to get us to sell, you know, we was already on expansion, community. I mean, from day one, we jumped on that. When we came around here, first of all, they was talking about, we had a flyer, we want to raise $200,000. People was looking at us like, y'all is crazy, man. That is insanity. Shoot. We jumped on that, raised that, bought this building. It was just a shell. Well, you remember, it was just a shell. Didn't have none of this inside. In fact, we spent over $300,000 just on the inside of the masjid because there was nothing here. It was nothing. You know, it was just a big church facing the Qibla. And it had been there for years. It was sitting right there on the corner. And we looking for a joint. And I drove by here, I said, we looking for a joint to build around the corner. Hey, look at this one. Came in here, anyway. Long story, we brought it up. Oh, you know it, we got this house, and that house down there where I live. They didn't, one person looked at it, and then he looked at it with his wife. And you know how wives look at something, they don't have that vision of what you can do with it. They just look at it like it is. They don't want to touch that. So the people, I found out how much they wanted for it. They said $20,000. I said, I'll give you 15. They say, how about the lot next door? We throw that in for 5,000. Well, I would buy that chair for $5,000. I said, sure, throw it on in. I didn't even check whether I see it's a big ditch. You can't build nothing on it. But anyway, so what? It's still it's ours. We bought that, hooked it up. We just remodeled everything here. There. And all of a sudden, right when we was getting ready to finish this up, that property came up across the street. I said, we'll buy it. Actually, that lot where that big house is, we had put down on that, but something came up, we had to pull the money off of it. But we could have got through and bought that lot over there. We'd have been better off having it, but there's no sense being greedy. Anyway, here's the point. We have the picture of community, and that picture came from our utopian vision. As soon as we saw it, we knew what we wanted. So I'm not going to concentrate a lot on as we go to California visiting cities, but I can say this: we're going to form a corporation, nonprofit corporation. That's why I wanted a brother to be here, that to get that as we start putting ideas together. Actually tomorrow, nonprofit corporation, getting the papers drawn up. I'm going to get me a card made according to that. And it'll be things like to build Inter-America, something like that. You know what I mean? But what's the picture? Man, I did some research yesterday about small towns and what have you, and it's just interesting. Today we'll do some more benefits of small towns and da-da-da-da-da. And we're going to put together a package. And when we go to these small towns, we're going to already have a sales package hooked up. We're going to ask for an hour of the mayor or the city guy's time, whoever has some authority there. Hey, we'd just like to leave this message with you. Here's a card. We're not asking you for nothing. We don't want nothing. But you might want to think about these type of things. If your town has lost population, your tax base is drifting away, and all of your old people are there by themselves, the children went to school and left. Whatever they did, they left the town, and they left all those small towns empty almost. But there are still good homes there, plenty of space, right? The people out here feel they don't have control over nothing. If those people in those small towns draw up a charter, this is what they have, and they sell themselves to the public. They get big glossy flyers, what have you. This is what they have limits. We don't want our town to grow no more than 10 or 15%. Or else it'll lose a small town character, right? But the people down the street, the other little town around the corner, right? Everybody contact us, we'll send them over to them, right? And they'll have, so they keep their small town character. You know what I mean? If they're going to grow into a big town, they might as well, if they grow into too big a town, they won't be able to control their taxes as much, right? The government will be in, if it's a small town, they can actually do almost what they want, except for what the state and the federal government. And when the states see their population growing and they're getting a little bit more tax money from that town, the state gonna leave them alone. Only they got to worry about the federal government. They keep their mouth shut, the feds won't have enough. Plus, if you do in your little town, you can almost keep the federal government out. You know what I mean? By your own, with our own little city charters, stage rights, city rights. You know what I mean? It's a utopian vision. What do people want? I don't mean to spend much time on this, but what people want to feel freer. They're tired. There's millions of people in these cities that's saying this ain't what life ought to be about. They want a slower, easy-going pace. They want to be somewhere where they're recognized. You don't have to be a movie star to be recognized. You know, like in a city, in a town. And people, you know, human contact is the biggest thing. The biggest thing that modern civilization has lost is personal, direct human contact. Where, you know, the people in the South, they speak to each other. Hey, what's going on? Huh? Hailing. Yeah, they speak to each other. Right? Indiana's the same way. Might as well be in the South. Well, it was the biggest state for the Ku Klux Klan, so it might definitely ought to be there, right? But people, I mean, just right there in Virginia, and the farther you go, you really get into Dixie, people act like, hey, how you doing today? They don't have to know you to speak to you. And even you could actually just talk to somebody and just talking, and you didn't meet them before. The best contact is human contact. People have lost that. You would like to, the average person would like to be in a town where I'm recognized as a human being. I don't have to be a movie star to be recognized. And of course, small towns, one thing, some people think it's a drawback, but it's not a drawback. So everybody know your business. So you try to live a little better life, because everybody know your business. You know what your kid is doing, what you know, you didn't get that job you wanted, and you got that job you wanted, and your wife or you messing around with somebody. It's a small town. You can't hide it. It's going to get out sooner or later. Okay, but that's human living. You know what I mean? Whereas you just, can you imagine that people don't even talk to their neighbors? It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's actually ridiculous. They get in a car every day and drove on and gone on off. You know. Anyway, so this is part of our. So we have a two-pronged approach. We don't call it attack. Master School, Business Geographical Integrity. But this national project is to help the people, and the people can have. They make up their own mission statement, you know, and what they want for their town. Vision statement. A vision is what you want to become. A mission is how you're going to do it. So you have a picture. We want to be like this. This is what we want. Well, You got enough people in the town, y'all start doing that. You see what I mean? And you can make the town guidelines and rules according to the way you want to, right? That's the way every little township. Imagine you come from these big cities where you don't have no input. The schools are falling. The schools, you done drove through some of these towns on the way here and around, right? Half the schools is closed because there's no kids to go to the schools, right? It's unbelievable. All of that stuff. Now, suppose the town has a committee, they draw up a charter and then they present that to the public. This is what we want to become. This is what we have now, and this is what we want to be like. So that everybody that thinks along those lines, you're welcome. Okay, that's all it is advertising. And then trying to be that. Now, if the little town try to be slick, that's going to come out pretty quick, and they ain't going to have nobody. Even if somebody got there, and the people in the town said, it's a good idea. We're going to buy up all the property, and then, okay. If they want to buy up some of the property, it's no problem, but they ought to put a limit on themselves. You can't make no more than 10% of what you bought the property for. Because if you double or triple, these city slickers, they come in, they see this house. Oh, it's only to them, it's only $50,000. It's one of them big giant old houses. They buy it for 25 and they double up their money. If they, huh? Man alive, Detroit. Man, Detroit, the big old house. Even Philadelphia, you know, all those big houses out in another part of Philadelphia. I came there and a lot of our brothers was living in these big houses and all of that. And you could tell a few years ago they was rich houses. Because of anyway. I'll get to also a little fundraising and writing our own future. What we want to talk about is not only that beautiful utopian vision and what have you, but one of the things we're going to teach is how to manipulate the government 101. How to manipulate the government 101. We've already done that. We've been doing that really good for a long time. It's just, what does your study show? What does your research show? By 1970, we did our own research in Oakland. And when we did our research, we realized how we got to where we was. We realized why we started selling what we were selling. I probably mentioned that coming out of certain places, we were one of the first so-called black Muslims on that side of town, you know, in Oakland. We came out, we didn't smoke, we didn't drink, we didn't get high, didn't eat no pork. In fact, I didn't eat no meat at all, just like our sisters before. That was the talk of the town. Man, you know, Hank came out here Muslim June, and I was blowed up a lot, swole up, and and I kept that for a long time, till last week. And so he don't do this, he don't do. That's what they described when they started describing me. When I went to jail, we drank wine and used to get drunk. You know what all teenagers do, all in California. That's what we used to do. We used to drink white port and lemon juice. I don't know if y'all know it, way back. WPLJ really tastes good to me. White port lemon juice. You pour out a little bit of the wine, or you drink a little bit of the wine, then you pour those little cans of lemon juice, and I don't know why we did it, but that's what we did. WPLJ, white port lemon juice. So anyway, that's what we did. We would, 16, 17, we just drank and got drunk and rode around in low cars, bouncing around. I guess that's what everybody did. But anyway, and I come home 2.5 years later. First thing I get is a job, making average money. And then after that, got car, got everything, and all the time, my partner's going up in the hills to run. They have boxes, So I go with them. So I'm, in those days, people didn't run. The reason we ran in running boots, them army boots, is because the only people that ran in those days was people that was in the army. And when they come out of the army, they might still run a little while. And if they was boxes, road work was done with army boots and that gray sweatshirt outfit, the old time pants and sweatshirt. That's the way we worked out. Anyway, so the government in 1966 looked at that as dangerous. Because after work, we went over and lift weights, and the government would look at us like a game. Kids just having fun. We were young and we was having fun. We wasn't thinking about doing nothing whatever they was thinking about, we wasn't thinking about that. But they was looking at that's dangerous. See, the Black Panther Party was established in Oakland in 1966. And the government, what we realized later, they had all kind of people in the black neighborhood that were tied to the police. Some guy hanging out on the corner for the last 10 years is the police. We know that now. There's probably 1,000 just in this neighborhood. That's the way they do. So no, my friends came to me and they borrowed $200, paid me the $200 back, then gave me some marijuana. And I sold it and was off to the races. But within a year, I was way out there. Since I saved money, I was a good manager. I got rich really fast. Just selling marijuana. I mean, I was the wealthiest guy in the region, in that area, and that's about 67. So, I started having a little trouble. But one of the reasons that I started East Oakland Enterprises is because I wanted people to be like me. I mean, everybody had a job. People wish they had that. What we had then, everybody had a job, paid the average salary, you know what I mean? They wish they had that down. We had it then, and we all come from the country, so we was living pretty good out there. But anyway, the point is this. No, look here. The government see everything as a threat. So I pulled back for a minute. Well, one of the reasons I pulled back for a minute, I was looking out of my window and I saw 3 white men walking up to my door. You know where you got your apartment, got a window right over the parking lot. And actually it was a federal agent. Vice, you know, the vice. And they came up to my house. Long story short, I got a little case, and then I got another case. So in '67, I pulled back to look at what this stuff is. I'm still getting rich and everything. Everything's fine. So when I was in temporary retirement, an old friend of mine that had police characteristics came up to me, hey man, da da da, and he brought me a connection. At that time it was hard to find. What was a connection? The white boys that had all the marijuana, big real kilos of marijuana, big 2.25 bricks. They used to come in them bricks a long time ago. For $55 a piece, $55. I had been going to LA buying bricks that was cut and shaved. Of course, my connection was Negro. I got rich off of that. So you can imagine if I got white boy, and I'm paying $100 a brick, can you imagine for $55 a brick, a real white boy's brick, real kilos, that's what he used to, for $55, good God Almighty. All I could buy, and I bought everything they had. That's one thing I did. I bought it all, everything they could get to town. They'd have bring it in big containers. Sometimes the white boy would take my car, and I had a convertible. He couldn't get it in. He'd let the top back, then put it back. Sometime I'd try to put it all in the trunk, and it couldn't get in the trunk. I'd let the trunk, the top down, then fill up all the back. I mean, that's just the way, it was kind of easy going. Like, it wasn't like you got to sneak and do it, you know. I used to come back from LA with my marijuana and shopping bags. At first, $11 to go down to LA, $11 to come back on PSA, Pacific Southwest Airlines. They got the same airliner. I think they call it Southwest Airlines or something. That used to be PSA, Pacific Southwest. They just did California and Arizona. That was it. But anyway, when I thought about it, I realized that my connection, not the LA connection, but these big connections I was getting all of a sudden, coming from the white man. Because the white man, evidently, he wanted me to do that. Now, I didn't think about that then. I was just happy, woo, right on time. It don't come when you want it, but it'll be right on time. Look at here. Hey, man. I mean, it was just nice, an explosion. You know, this is marijuana at that time. Then a little cocaine, and that ain't bad, just, you know, for them days. Not crack, but just, man, look at here. So, but by the time we started East Oakland Enterprises, by '68 rolling around, well, that's what Martin Luther King wanted to do in Chicago. If y'all remember, he didn't pull it off. They show you on TV, he didn't pull it off. We pulled it off in Oakland. So the police thought after a while we wanted to divert this nigga, from black nationalism, and we supporting it. He done hired everybody in town and opened up, everybody is like a big party. I mean, look at here, you wouldn't believe it. You know, about investment. Big Hank, I was like the Godfather, except I wasn't mean. Can you imagine? And you should pay me back, but if you don't, I'm not gonna do nothing about it, you know what I mean? Can you imagine a big-time drug dealer that never even beat nobody up, never even beat nobody or chased nobody around the corner? This is really, that's something. That's the way it was. That's exactly the way it was. By that time, the Black Panther Party is getting active. We have our main joint right in the back. Well, in the back, this is Jerry's Pawn Shop. It's in the back of Jerry's Pawn Shop. But the Black Panther office for give out the newspapers and all that is right next to Jerry's Pawn Shop. So we could look out our back window into the next door to the where anyway. And all that stuff in the movies about the Black Panthers not getting high and that doesn't exist. I never, hey, we would almost hang out in the office. And then the brothers, if you look at any of our old pictures, 20% of them came out of the party, probably 25. At least 2 people in our leadership structure. One of them went to Sacramento. We used to call him Shotgun because in all the pictures you could see him. And they got, I didn't even know, I knew that why we called him Shotgun. I knew why. But then I was looking at some encyclopedia. I said, that's Johnny Gunn. You know what I mean? In other words, I knew that he came out of the party. They still dressed the same. Everybody looked the same. So anyway, by 1970 and 71, the police is getting tired of me in Oakland. And every time they do something to somebody, the people tell them, you couldn't do that to Big Hank. So the police say, what? So they the people put heat there pretty soon. Man, I was getting arrested so many times, it's unbelievable. You'd have to be, well, I didn't just I was getting arrested all along. But I mean, so I know about being arrested a lot. Pretty soon, I thought about it, and I did regular research, like now. We're going to do research on small towns. I did research then, but now it's better now. It's more, you know what I mean. But it wasn't bad. I said, Negroes go to court, this many of them go to jail, that many of them. So, long story short, I packed up and left the country. I said, now everybody else would have stayed. You can't take my empire from me. But I said, they do it to everybody else. Why they won't do it? Hey, you be mad, but you do your math. And you got to, just like they say, you have to follow the, what do they call it on TV? They talk, the science. Right? The same thing we had then. You have to follow the math. The math, hey man, it ain't. So if 97 people, if 100 people walk through the door, 97 of them gonna get hit upside the head with a baseball bat. Now, the average guy, when he's big and powerful, he thinks, I'm gonna be one of them 3. I didn't think like that. I said, that numbers don't look that good to me, right? In other words, if 97% of the people gonna get beat upside the head and only 3% gonna get away, I seem to think that it's a bigger possibility of me getting busted upside the head, right? In fact, there's 33 times a chance, you know what I mean, 97, 33, 333. I said, shoot, that's 33. I got 33 chances of getting busted upside of the head. 32, right? 32 and a half, or 33 and a third. 32 and a third chance. I just math. I said, I ain't going. I ain't going. And I left. Man, that was good. But the good thing was, I planned for the leaving. I planned for the leaving, and I thought about it, and I thought where I was going, and I asked my family if they wanted to go, well, mainly my wife, and I had French lessons on cassette, and then I had the Encyclopedia Britannica that I had. You know, I went to the library, got encyclopedias, and they had, when you looked at Algeria, from that encyclopedia, it showed camels and stuff like that. And you can imagine a modern city girl, I don't think they, so, well, you want to go, we go. And then they didn't saw enough movies about people on the run. Bonnie and Clyde was just out then. And they might think, oh, the children own the house and all. Well, it's okay. I just go by myself, and I just, you know. But I offered everybody the opportunity. The kids would get a chance to see the world and, you know, do what they want. It'd have been nice for them. It'd have been an adventure. But, okay, so I just left myself. I said, I'm not going to stay here and let these white people drag me down the street in front of everybody. That's what they do to all the heroes. They drag them down the street behind their chariot. I ain't going to let the white folks drag me down the street in front of all of the Negroes and take all the money I got, then send me to the penitentiary. And I didn't do it. I left. That was a wonderful decision, because when you travel, you have to learn different things. You learn, hey man, when I left here, when I got to Algeria, they didn't weigh people by pounds, they weighed people by kilos. They didn't use miles, they used kilometers. And I wasn't 6 feet 2 inches. I was 1.90 something other. And I said, good God Almighty. Can you imagine you get out there and everything that you know is different? And I watch a little sports on TV. That's when I read the most popular. They told me, no, this is the most popular sport in the world. What was it? It was football, soccer, not football like Negro football. I said, that's the most popular thing? Because everybody was just sitting there glued, you know. All the cafes, everybody just couldn't, they didn't have a lot of TVs at home, so they was just googly-eyed and woo and hooping and hollering. I said, man. So everything that you knew, even when I would get when I was sending cocaine from South America up here, one of my partners was asking me, do your kilos have 948 grams in it? And does it have, or does it have 900? Because 2 pounds, what is it, 454 grams, something like that. Yeah, something like that. So I said, I'm going to send you a kilo. A kilo has 1,000 grams. Kilos don't have 900 and something. You know, Negroes was used to buying colored stuff. With 10 ounces, they'd have them 25 ounce 25-gram ounces, because that's what heroin used to come in. And they used to come in pieces and 16 spoons and all that, you know. I said, no, I'm down here now. And we don't have no 900 and something. All kilos, a kilo, that's what you're talking about. Kilo, 1,000, kilowatts, right? All that stuff. I said, they come in, they're 1,000 grams. You can't get any kilos with more or less than that. It was just that everything was different, and the Negro was used to colored stuff. Man, so when you go other places, imagine you introduced to the whole world. And now we're learning about the whole African continent. Because in Algeria, a lot of the people is fighting for freedom all over Africa. They come to Algeria, they get training because it was one of the first ones to get its liberation. Some of the brothers from South Africa, all of them, they went to Algeria, you know. Anyway, this was a great experience. I'm going to try to speed up. But what I'm saying is this, for me, this life has been one long experience. And when I came back over here and started what I started, I could feel the government presence clearly. And down in South America, it was clear. I knew who I was dealing with, who was managing. I played along with it. So I learned how to manipulate the government. At that time, it was still crude. You know, in the early 70s, 71, 72, 70, it was still crude at that time. But I knew one thing. If they're in charge, they're going to let you get so much money, then they're going to cut it off and take their money back, like they let everybody deal. After they deal a while, they get big, they be riding up down the talking, then all of a sudden, they go to jail, they lose all their money. That's a history for everything going on here, all Rayful Edmonds, all of them, same story. It's the same story everywhere. So I knew then, boss man, gonna block my income and try to get everything back. So I did stuff on the side that he didn't know nothing about. None of my neighbors knew, none of it. It just looked like I was just doing the foot shuffle down in Colombia, like doing nothing. They still had their eye on me real good, even when I was by myself. But I just slip in here, slip in there. And I had, when it all crashed down, I wasn't broke. It just, they thought I was, but I wasn't, because I put something aside. They was managing me, and I was learning how to manage them. Now, by the time we come to Islam, that's what I'm going to teach. How to manipulate the government 101, except now I'm going to teach an advanced course. 101 just for public consumption. How to manipulate the government. Okay, you have to think something is going on. I have to be telling some of the truth, because all of this stuff that's going on, all of this stuff that we're talking about, everywhere we've been and the way everything has come out, all of this time, right? We have to have some involvement in it. We are not being manipulated 100%. It's not possible. Therefore, if we're able to predict the behavior of the government year in, year out, if we're able to incorporate processes and methods where when boss man look up, he's the one that's been played. And then this last period, let's say the last 7, 8 years, or 10 years, out there in Oakland and here, is clear. It's clear as a bell about what we've been doing and what we learned from the government. See, it's a learning process. Nobody has to believe it. Oakland was pure black nationalism. History arranged for me. It was, at that time, it was arranged for me. But if I know it's arranged, if I know the rules of the game, I can begin to, and I hate to keep saying I, but that's who it's happening to is, if I'm the target, I have to have enough sense to know of it. A lot of people are a target and they don't know they're a target. Right? That's not my situation. Okay. So it gets so common that you can pick up on everything. I gave a talk at Sacramento State, 1981. I said, Reagan's a new president. I said, Reagan's going to take us back to the 50s, and before you know it, we'll all be back. He's going to take the country back there because that's where his head is at. That's where his behavior is at. He's been the governor of California, right? He's now the president of the United States. Ronald Reagan killed the Vietnam syndrome, and all of a sudden, everybody went to heroes as not baby killers, they're rehabilitated. Right? That happened at Reagan's time. Y'all may not remember crew cuts, but crew cuts was back in the 50s. Crew cuts is what the white folks, just crew cuts, same thing they wear in the Navy almost. You go down, you look at the Negro by 1989, he was wearing a bowl haircut. A bowl haircut is when you put a bowl on your head and cut around it, except it was sticking way up. That's what the niggas was doing. They didn't know. I knew. I'm telling you, I think somebody videoed it in 1981. And then I told the Iranians, look, here's what they're going to do. They're going to feint at you. And if you don't move properly, he's going to feint at you again. And if you don't make the proper moves and adjustment, next time, bam, he's going to hit you. Why? Because you haven't made the proper adjustments. That's what they did to the Iranians then, and they're still doing it to them now. Well, not as much now. Iranians didn't learn. They didn't learn. Anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is, this is not a new process. If you do this long enough, the individual will outgrow the government. It's easy to see. Why is everything redundant? Why do they do the same thing to the cars that they did 15 years ago? They don't have nothing else to do. They didn't went to the end of the road. Why they do the same stuff that they have done over and over again, and it has no effect at all? Because you outgrow them after a while. If you hang around long enough, you outgrow boss man. You outgrow him. See, remember, longevity is a big deal. That's what Martin Luther King said. Longevity has its place. He said, but I've been to the mountaintop. Longevity has its place. He said, but you're going to get to promised land. I may not be there with you. Because I guess somebody told him, nigga, we're going to finish you off. That's it. And sometime when you hear it, or sometime when you break something, you know, oh, this is broke, this is not a sprain. You ever hear something like that? Okay, that's the whole real deal there. Somebody done told him, you ain't gonna, you a dead nigga. And he just knew it. You could tell when he's talking. He already know that, you know. And Malcolm said in one of his interviews, well, don't you think that this is dangerous? He's talking about the chief and, you know, how did you know? He said, well, the son, Wallace told me, da, 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 da. He said, well, don't you think that what you're saying is dangerous? He said, I'm a walking dead man. I don't know if you ever, he said, I'm a walking dead man. I said, I already know that. But, so he knew, said, okay, what I'm saying is, and I'll get to what's been going. What we're saying right now is not a new style. I just happen to have this. Who's the real terrorist? It's called Devil's Triangle. U.S., Israel, and South Africa. That was in 1989. So the triangle of terror, South Africa don't belong there no more, right? So we stick the Saudis on there. But the triangle of terror, Devil's Triangle, they just take the one out, replace them with another. But at that time, South Africa belonged there, right? Today, it's Saudi Arabia. Okay, this is back at 89, 30 years ago, 31 years ago. So it's okay. What I'm trying to say is, we're qualified now to teach not government manipulation, how to manipulate the government, 101 introductory course, which we're going to teach. But for those that are going to be around, we're going to teach an advanced course. We're going to teach, look, none of this stuff is accidental. Of course, we know that nothing's accidental. But what I'm saying is, we have had influence in designing already the things that have been going on. Why wouldn't we respond to somebody, if I was arrested in the masjid, why wouldn't I just go down the next day, get a lawyer and say, hey, they can't do that to me, it's illegal. Why we don't do that? Because we want repetition over and over and over again. And you know, last year, I think we had been out here so long, back here, that we went past the time when you could file against the government in court. Yeah. So they started arresting me again. So I'll be up to date. And I know to go back out there and do this stuff before that wears out. That's no problem. But we got more, look, I used to talk to Tufel every day, every night when this stuff was going on. This stuff was not a trial period. It was a trial period, but it was a consolidating period, and a period, you know the way Allah say in the Quran, that we give you power, we give you this and that, so that I will know, but it don't mean so Allah already know, but so you gonna know. So all the time I consulted so that there would be a witness to say, yeah, this guy is ready. Why? Because they can't make you do stuff. They can't provoke you. I was watching the other night, they had a program about Grant. You know, it's on the History Channel. 6-hour series. I watched all of them. All at one time, though. And one thing about Grant and Lee at the end of the war, Grant had all the big government power and force and numbers, and he said, I'm just going to chase Lee until he has to respond to me. You know, I just stay on him. And Lee could do it for a while, but after a while, he had to respond to Grant. When you respond to me, homeboy, you're in trouble. The government always was doing everything they did, so I would respond to them. When I wouldn't respond, can you imagine all them arrests? All them arrests? Time after time? And then all the arrests before, what does that do? That put us right in with what's happening to black people today. When we speak about being arrested, police brutality, them putting their hands on you, you know, when they put your hands on you, they make you automatically get mad because they know how to put their hands on you in a way that they assault you. Of course, you handcuffed already. But they handle, for them to put their hands on you, it makes you mad. You got to control yourself. And then the way they used to search us, they still do the same way. Open your leg, and then they kick your legs open. They kick your legs. Sometimes that's just to provoke you so that they can beat you upside the head. All the techniques that they use. And that man with his knee on that brother's neck, he was doing that on purpose, and the guys there with him is already paid for. There's too many people yelling at him, and it's the police, and 3 minutes pass when the guy's already dead, right? Why? Because somebody wanted that to happen. It had happened up there, where? In Minnesota? What's been happening up there? The poor guy 3 years ago, he told the police, oh, I have a gun, I have a right to carry. Bam, 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 bam. Good God Almighty, wait a minute. The guy said, officer, I have a gun and I have a right to carry it. And they open up on it, and no police going to jail or nothing like that, right? I'm telling you. So, everything that happened here and around me, being number one on the watch list, the FBI coming here when they come, and the FBI came by your place first. You think the police, the FBI don't know where I'm at? You think the FBI don't have my phone number and stuff like that, and I didn't call them before? It's insanity. They wanted to have a witness. Yeah, and then whatever advice they given, the only thing they said was definitely true. Okay, we don't want you to go back out there to Oakland. Oh, what's going on out there in Oakland? So hell, y'all the FBI. That's the Oakland Police Department. They can't tell y'all what to do. You call out there and tell them to leave me alone. Anyway, it was all arranged. It was all arranged. Either they didn't want me to go out there, or they did in a hurry before this stuff. Because see, you got to think now. For the last several years, do they have me on the hook, or do I have them on the hook? You got to think about it. I think about it all the time, every day. Rethink about it, think about it from this corner, go over that corner, think about it, go over that corner, think about it, get out on the road when you could look at it real good. I think about it when I go overseas. I think about, you know, you look at everything all the time, from a micro vision to the macro vision all the time, over and over and over again. Then I go watch TV and have a little rest because you don't want your mind just, super saturated. Years ago, I used to saturate, you know what I mean? And now, you get trained, you don't need to 24/7, maybe just 24/6. 6 days, out of 7. Stuff like that, Take a little breather. You're going for the long run, right? You got another 25 years to go. That's the way I feel. Now, being 100, see, I done already reached when I got 75, I said, that's what I was working on. I said, it's all over now. I mean, I've been doing everything, but it's all over, boss man, right? And me sitting here telling them I'm going to live to be 100 and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I actually want to do it and I'm going to try to do it. But in a way, technically, I don't care. Because I'm doing what 75 and everybody else died 22 and 19, right? And you 75 and they didn't get a chance to leave East Oakland. You know what I mean? And you go all over the world, hey man, bump that. I know about being grateful. Anyway, let me get back here. So, you outgrow boss man and his institutions. That's possible. And all great mid-America, we said we're going to have the Mandela effect. We got to out Mandela. We got to way over Mandela. Because it was a different time. In order to do that, those things that are necessary, you can get angry, won't solve no problems. You can get mean, you lost the game, right? You can adopt the principle of kindness, right? Gratefulness, and all of that, and you done won the game. No matter what happens, you done won the game. When you do that, you done already won the game. Okay? The solutions for the world are not individual solutions anymore. Solve the race problem for this people, solve this problem. It's the whole show. So our training program had to cover everything and everybody. And that's what it did. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit if I can. So, why has Imam Musa's life been in 100% concordance with our present day realities? Everything that's happening nowadays, it fits. The police, and their behavior, right? It's clear. So when we see the police acting, we done had so many arrests. I don't know whether it's been 200-300, something. It's a lot, whole pages of it. And even in modern times, still quite a few. So when we see how he's doing, we can make an assessment. He's doing that. You know what I mean? Not like he's got his hand in the police. You see it? He got his hand in his pocket. He ain't worried about nothing. I'm doing this. He ain't listening to nobody. He ain't paying no attention to the guy that's telling him, right? If he was a human being, eventually that was a hit. That man was assassinated on TV. And up in Minneapolis, because they done had so many things up there, that they know they're going to get mad about it. They know they're going to get mad about it. And whether it's to change the subject from 100,000 people dying, because remember that was all on TV, whether it's from 100,000 dying, whoever paid them, whatever the reason was, we don't lose in that. They lose on every deal. How do they lose? They lose, number one, so they didn't change the subject from internal U.S. to this, that, and other. But one thing that comes to the top of everything that everybody says, the Negro demonstrations and all the Negroes with them was having peaceful demonstrations. In Chicago, the white folks back there was throwing some bricks and they hit some of the black people, and the black people was fighting, the demonstrators. And some of the people was spray canning and stuff, and the people grabbed them people and said, that ain't part of our demonstration. Now, when we used to have demonstrations, we used to have orientation. Remember, we'd have orientation. This is what we're going to do. This is how we act. And if anybody do such and such, they not with us. Because we're out here, this is the face we're going to put on this demonstration. We don't have all these people out here for them to put their program out. We having this right to put our program out. Maybe black people could have did a better job of coordinating, because remember, all the demonstrations we had, they were all on paper. Therefore, we had to have a coordinator with the police. This is our coordinator. I said, this is what we're going to do. This is the way we're going. All that. It saves problems. I realized how important it was in 1984 on Wilshire Boulevard in LA at the Quds demonstration. I ain't never seen that many police probably in my life. And they was 8 deep on the other side of Wilshire Boulevard, marching, just like you see the police today, except there's more than on the street on this side of Wilshire Boulevard. Well, I know on this side, the street going the same way. Police, I said, boy, they got police out here today. In our demonstration, they had some Negro Shias from LA and the Negro Shias from Oakland. They came together, they got together, and they was trying to provoke the police. A few little kicking incidents. And the brothers maintaining our demonstration said, everybody sit down. Sit down. And I sit right on down. And some of the Negroes, even that was hanging out in our masjid, well, my imam sit down, trying to make it look like we wasn't ready to fight. Well, you gonna be ready to fight? All them police out there, nigga, you must be stupid. You know what I mean? Just like them niggas up on the hill jumped on some people down here, right? And then they want us to go up and shoot all them niggas. You're crazy, because we're here. They can move anywhere they want. And therefore, they can shoot you anytime they want. And the Negroes in here, they don't come no more. Come in the masjid with their pieces. We ready to do that. I said, shoot, man, shoot. You must be crazy. Absolutely not. No. They're trying to provoke us. They tried to provoke us here many times. But it didn't work. Okay. So now, we've had years of demonstrating. We have one demonstration. I think it was when Iran Air was shot down. It was back in the 80s. We have a demonstration. I'm the spokesman. And an Iranian guy walks up to him and tell him, it was a WPFW radio station. One of them people. Well, it was KPFA from out there. Out here's WPF. One of them type Pacifica. We're going to do this to y'all. We're going to blow up this. So I said, hey, man, who are you? Where'd you come from? So I called the Iranian brothers. Hey, man, look, homeboy here, he telling, and he'd break off running because he was a munafiq, trying to tell the people, make it look like we're mad. We're not mad. You see what I mean? So we've had a lot of demonstrations. I'm telling you, this stuff right now, it's no loss. It's no loss. They might think it's a loss. They may think our demonstrations were hijacked, which all of them was. Remember them guys in New York on the mopeds and all that? They set this garbage can on fire. Then they said, ain't nobody on this street. So they all set that on fire. The police run over there. They'd run them crazy. That's organized. That's systematized. The Negroes are not having organized demonstrations. They're having ad hoc, on-the-spot demonstrations. And they're all peaceful. So I almost got tired of watching the stuff last night and even this morning. No, all the fires, and then everybody is saying the outer tyrants come and they started this trouble. And these people organized, hey, there's a crew that I know that was in Oakland. Hey, maybe they went down to Florida. So that's a long story. But they were imitation Black Panthers. They came, you know, when they left Oakland en masse, the day Huey Newton got killed. After that, they was up and gone, back down. Anyway, in Dixie somewhere. I'm not going to say. I've seen them up here a couple of times. They're a long story. But they're the types that like Antifa, whoever them people are. They want to have a old-time revolution. Everybody said, or call anytime something happened like this, now some of these others, I don't know them, but their behavior is the same. They go and they set fires and they do all that. Okay. First of all, it's a rule. If you have a lot of pressure built up, a lot of steam built up, and you want it to be used properly, what do? Controlled release. You control the release. And you let that pressure, whether it's social, psychological, or legal pressure, right? Sometimes it's a combination of all that. You focus it and you let that pressure out in a controlled way. You don't just run out and start hollering. It don't do no good. Okay. The time that we're living in, it don't make no difference what anybody do. It's all downhill for boss man. Okay, inside of the United States, everybody see, I hate to sound like the governor of them people, but these out-of-towners and these guys, they're all on the same team. First thing I recognized in Oakland and the Wall Street, man, they had all the people, they had to, one of the brothers got killed out there during that time, shot him in the subway. They had the inspiration of all the people, all that. And then here come them guys, and I know them guys. So man, they come hassling the police, and then all the attention turned to the demonstrators are not respecting the law, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And all the police said yesterday, we know that these are mixed people in with them, but we cannot separate the people who are legally demonstrating and letting their voice being heard from those guys. So they got their justification. Probably 5% of the news yesterday and the day before was about demonstrations and not too much about coronavirus. I heard one thing that there was 104,000 people dead now. But if you want to change what's on the news, you got to remember, everybody says the same thing about the U.S. They don't have a thought-through policy. They don't think through, right? Kishu Nubobani, he said, whatever that name, he said all of that. They don't have a strategy. Everybody says that, that thinks. The U.S. don't have a long-range strategy. Okay. Whatever they wanted to do with killing that brother, they lost all of that. Part of it internally and all of it externally. Why? Because everybody is looking at the U.S. You look at the foreign news, see what they say. I don't care whether it's Deutsche Welle, the French news, whether it's what they call Press TV, Al Jazeera, don't make no difference. They see the same thing. The U.S., the great, is losing it. They blowing it, man. What is wrong with them? They got all these carnivorous coronavirus, whatever they call them. They got all this stuff going on, and they can't even just say, okay, we're going to help y'all, we know you. For a minute or two, the U.S. cannot tell nobody to do nothing anymore. Right under their noses, Venezuela is all out of petrol, and they got 5 ships, 4 of them already unloaded. Right? They're all unloaded. And they said, you can't stop us. And what's the hash? That's a gracias Iran. That means they think together. They always been hooked up, but now they solidified. All the people that speak Spanish, and they not handkerchief-headed Spanish-speaking people, they're gonna say, because everybody know they treating Venezuela bad. They picking on the Russians buying up all the gold. They picking on the Chinamen buying up all the gold. And they saying we can keep this stable thing, we can print more money because we're the standard currency. Just imagine. They making people form a unity. Why? They cutting them all off. They forcing them together. They forcing Russia. They forcing Russia and China and Iran and Venezuela. And they got Russians down in Venezuela running around and Chinamans too. So eventually they're gonna come up with a what? Alternative currency. It's just, we done talked about it 100 times. They're making. So remember, when you start going down, your habits get so bad, you force the issue. Your bad behavior, you start blowing it, you lose control. You become discombobulated. One thing, when they look at America, America is discombobulated. You can say what you want, they're discombobulated. Let me try to speed up. So arrest, no fly list, FBI, step-by-step guidance. This is what we have to offer, though. We're not running for Congress, Senate, nothing. What we're saying to people is now we need, this is time for us to have a consolidated process. We need help doing all of this, so they know. So there's a serious need for support. We need to start warming up and coming together. You can either ignore it, and you can say, this ain't really happening. If you say it really is happening, which it seems like it is, You don't have no chance. You can send your children to China to school, send them to Mexico to school. You can get them all. You can get them in on the system, and you can get them a guaranteed job, but they're not going to be there long. That system is going. This system here is going. And then, see, people ask me on the slide, man, you still hang with the Negro? I say, yes, I am, because the Negro is a human being. Yeah. And I know that much, that eventually I believe the Negro, I don't care what he's doing, he's going to eventually come around, because boss man ain't going to leave him no out. We've been saying this since I don't know when. Which way is it going? How long did it take to hit bottom? You know, it's all math. It's not math, because only Allah knows, but which way is this big boy going? Okay, let's say he's going down. We want to arrange this environment, and all this stuff about inner America and mid-America, we was thinking about what is exactly we're going to do to, you know, the details about it. And there it comes, right there. That's what it is. That's what it was. Soon as, that's what it was. That's what it is. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to form a corporation. We can call it whatever we want. In-American, corporate, anything we want to call it. And it's all in original Americanism. Pennsylvania, right? William Penn. He drew up a charter, right? And anybody that wanted to go along with William Penn could come to Pennsylvania. Their utopia at that time. The early colonies, everybody. Plymouth Rock. 1620. Read King James Version if they have one here. 1619. The King James Version of the Bible. That's what it says, King James Version of the Bible, my version of the Bible. And all of a sudden, everybody in England, 1620, Plymouth Rock, the day he come out with that, the other Christians got on boats and all to come over here. Remember, all the first people come over here was what? They came to get away from that persecution and to come over here and start their utopia. They might have burned all the white women as witches and everything, but they came over here, right? Right, to have their utopia. Maybe that's what was part of utopia, is burn all the white ladies, call them a witch. That was a Salem witch thing. Y'all probably heard of that too. But anyway, what do we sell the people on? On Americanism. You're tired being cooped up in the city? Are you tired of not owning? Where is your piece of the rock? Where is your picket fence, house with a picket fence? Remember, that's still in their brain, right? How much value do you have, right? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Here's how you can regain a somewhat foothold. Slow your life down. Get back into a flow that makes sense. Get in touch with your human self. It's probably at least 40% of the white folks out here running around, and Negroes. That's what they want, right? Suppose we get 5% of them to go back to little town. No, we don't get them. We tell the white folks we don't ask them no money, and they do what they want to do. We're a nonprofit corporation. If you want to give us a few dollars, you can if you want. But this is all free. You see what I mean? And it has to be free to give that idea that this is not slick. You know what I mean? And when the people hear it, the white folks, they said, that's exactly. Why? Because we're dealing with the human element. And you don't have to, but you can come from the premise that the human being ain't no good, never have been, and never will be. You can come from that. Right? Or you can come from the premise that the human being is packed overwhelmingly with good. You just got to whoop the shaitan. Or at least box with him, right? That's all. So, it's your picture of human beings, the human family. And a lot of people have a pessimistic view. I don't have it. I have an optimistic view, no matter how pitiful things look sometimes. But everything that was involved with me, it wasn't nothing. It was even no hard work to put up with, including getting busted upside the head. But that was the final thing that showed that, yes, I have, for myself, I have arrived on this dumb stuff. Why? Because you can overlook those people. You can do all that, you know what I mean? So you know. That's why this is our time. Every element. I put it this way before I close. None of the imams are even, they're not qualified to talk about none of these subjects hardly. They can talk about a little Islam because somebody told them to. But they don't have none of this experience. All this is real, live, human experience. You see what I mean? That means when we say we're going to teach how to manipulate the government 101, we're going to teach that under strategic management, under conditions of all of that. But also we're going to teach the higher levels. Yeah, the advanced studies. Why? Why did we get all of this? Why did nobody that was overseas with me just, some get out of prison, they don't do nothing. Why? Okay, they don't do nothing. It's nothing. It has to be a reason. It has to be somebody raised for an issue, and they raised for that. And then after a while, it don't even be hard. It would be hard for somebody else. Yeah, I ain't doing that. I don't want nobody in all of my business. Like I was telling my son, he was telling me, Dad, these people, they got cameras in here, I know. I said, they can't see the nigga doing nothing but masturbate. That's all they could see. Ain't nothing else going on. Right? What are you talking about? Ain't nothing else happening? Okay. Diffuse by peaceful protesters, we talked about that. Release in a purposeful way. If you release steam right, it'll drive out old steam engines. Remember them old trains, steam? Because you let it out. You build the heat up and you let it come out purposefully. Anarchy is to assist the system. Even Chris Hedges and them, people say that the Antifa them, they're cops. That's what he said, they cops. Whatever they are, they assisting. You know, if you're so bad, just have your own demonstration and burn all the cars and stuff. But don't come jumping in mine and, messing up my birthday party, right? If you're so bad, just have demonstrations. Don't come jumping in everybody else's and then gonna run up and down the street. They did it here in D.C. The stuff that caught on fire down there, the stuff that when they was with the women's demonstration and with others, That's them coming, and the police send them. They working with the police. That don't mean all the police is working. That don't mean, but all at the top and riding around in that mix, it's being manipulated. Okay. So their job is to assist the system. They assist the system. They set them little garbage can fires, and then they break up the demonstration, the peaceful demonstration. All the Negroes, you saw them on TV. This was peaceful, man. Okay, I'm not going to get into outside or agitators sound like Ronald Reagan now. Fights, demonstration, spray paint. Okay. That may be kind of about it. But articles of incorporation included would be a letter of introduction. We'll be writing that stuff up when we keep saying we're going to write this, we're going to write that. Well, it takes a lot just to, you can see I ain't even had time to transfer all this. This is just quick notes, you know what I mean? There's so much stuff going on that don't worry, we'll be writing, reading, and studying, and also we are not in any panic at all throughout all types of panic and adversity. Hey, we thank Allah, and affliction. So we're doing our job, inshallah. Are there any questions, any comments about anything?
Yeah, we had a couple of questions came up in the chat. Someone asked, Salam alaikum, for those who grew up near and lived in D.C., please let us know how we can be active and support you from a distance for those who haven't.
For those that,
Yeah, those who have moved, those who are a distance.
okay, they done moved out of D.C.
Yeah, they moved.
Okay, you see my telephone number on there. You can give me a call. And we just gave out the call for support and cooperation today. We've been giving it out. But I want to, first of all, thank you for that, because there are things that we need. If you want to help from way out, you can get a little team together and help coordinate funds and what have you. And before you send anything, make sure you kind of contact us so we can handle it properly. But we need a lot of that kind of help. Just financial support. But we're going to need cooperation, people that have all the skills of cyber skills, internet, Facebooks, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be doing things like our own little targeted demonstrations and programs soon. Okay, remember, there's always an evolutionary, there's times when we don't do no demonstrations, right? But it's been like that. Sometimes we didn't do them in Oakland, sometimes we didn't do nothing. Sometimes we did. We are now in the time of external development, because this period we've been going through has been mainly a period of internal development on purpose. Okay, this period that we're in now, we're evolving into expansion and putting let me put it this way. All this stuff that's happening we talk about can't be done by one or two people. Can't be done. So right now, we thank you for that. Just call my number. We're getting ready. Now we're getting ready. We are already in the process of expansion. And when you look around a year from now, you'll think we've been running on all cylinders all the time. But everything that we talk about here, masjid, revival, school, revival, business, revival, all the property we got around here, just come in a while and you, inshallah, you'll see buildings going up. All that, all around the corner. So we really thank you. That's the period we're in. And even we talked about it sometime. For instance, going to the West Coast, this thing about visiting small towns, a few of them, and traveling through all of them, at least the ones on the way, and talking to the people. We've been anxious to get with Middle America for a long time. Well, we just didn't get bothered. You know, we've been we've been into that. You know, return, you know, good for evil, then might be between he and you. We've been into that for a long time. We have been doing it. Now we're going to have to do it. You know, the only reason we haven't done it, we just be uncomfortable going out to the white folks in West Virginia saying, we're your brother, da, 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 da. But we got time to be uncomfortable, right? We got work to do. We could do it then. It wasn't the time to do it. Now is the time to do all of that. Everything we've talked about, you look around, and it'll be done with Allah's help. We're in the process of doing it. Anyway, are there any more questions?
Yeah, well, another brother, he asked a similar question about how can brothers on the West Coast help?
Okay, you got my number. I'll be out on the West Coast shortly. Yeah, just keep the number. The number's on the screen, right? Okay. Call that number on and off, and I'll talk to you. But it's good to get the West Coast, but we're gonna need the whole country involved. No. This is, as they used to say, this is it. This is, you know, all the things we've been talking about all the time. This is it. It's just it. That's all. So. Yeah. Anyway, any more questions or comments?
That's everything.
All right. So we thank all of y'all very much. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم.